Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep into Tilray Brands today. They're this big cannabis company everyone's talking about, but their stock down 40% this year alone. And it's been a rough 5 years overall, let me tell you. But there's this talk about a rebound by 2025, so we're going to use this Motley Fool article to figure out if Tilray is going belly up or if they're actually in a good spot. What are your thoughts on this right off the bat?
Well, the cannabis market itself is doing great, but Tilray doesn't seem to be riding that wave. Makes you wonder, are they missing out on a huge opportunity? Or is there something else going on here?
Yeah, and the article doesn't hold back. Tilray stock is down over 90% in the last 5 years.
Yep.
They're growing, sure, but they're still reporting losses. Like last quarter, bam, $34.7 million hit. Something's not quite adding up. Why are they struggling when the whole industry seems to be booming?
It all boils down to U.S. legalization, or the lack thereof. The U.S. is this massive potential market, and Tilray, like other cannabis companies, is waiting for it to open up. But this delay is really impacting their growth, so they're just kind of stuck waiting. But Tilray hasn't been completely idle. They've been making some moves, especially with their diversification, like buying up alcohol brands. Bold move, right? What's the thinking behind that? Desperate times or strategic genius?
It's them being proactive, that's for sure. Might seem weird for a cannabis company to go into alcohol, but it makes more sense when you look closer. Their beverage sales have more than doubled in the past year. That's way faster than the overall market.
Wow, that's impressive. So it's not just about spreading the risk, it's about finding a profitable niche right now. Like they're setting up a safety net while they wait for the U.S.
Exactly, and it gives them a foothold in the U.S. market, which could be huge if legalization finally happens. They're basically getting ready to be a major player on both sides.
Clever, but does this mean they're spreading themselves too thin? Could all this distract them from their main cannabis business?
It's a valid concern. Diversifying can be a double-edged sword. Lowers risk in the short term, but it also takes resources and focus.
So they're walking a tightrope, trying to stay afloat and set themselves up for the future. High stakes, for sure. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Will Tilray rebound in 2025? What are the chances? What factors are we looking at?
The article points to U.S. legalization as the biggest factor. But the timing is, well, who knows? And then there's the upcoming election. It could speed things up or completely derail legalization efforts.
So a lot of unknowns, and to make things even more interesting, the article says Tilray might not even be a cannabis company in 5 years. All because of this diversification adds a whole new layer to their future.
Definitely. It makes you think, is Tilray becoming something completely new? Like a hybrid company that breaks traditional boundaries? We're not just talking about their stock going up. We're talking about a potential transformation of their entire business.
That's fascinating. It's like watching a company in metamorphosis. Will they become a beautiful butterfly or get stuck somewhere in between? What's the main takeaway for our listeners so far?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is this. Tilray's story isn't over yet. They're at a crossroads. The next few years will be crucial for them.
A real cliffhanger. What are your first impressions of their strategy? Cautious optimism or red flags? Think about it. We'll continue this deep dive after a quick word from our sponsors.
Bold for sure, but will it work? Only time will tell. It all depends on if they can handle all this change, while also dealing with the crazy cannabis market.
It's like juggling chainsaws on a tightrope, right? But this also makes me think about the whole cannabis industry. What does Tilray's story tell us about where cannabis is right now?
Tilray is a great example, actually. They show the struggles and the potential of the whole sector. Lots of companies have rising revenue, but they can't turn a profit. Shows the demand is there, but the rules are holding everyone back.
Potential just being wasted, like a runner with ankle weights.
Okay, so what key takeaways should our listeners be thinking about? Don't invest in Tilray just because you think the U.S. will legalize weed. That's a gamble, and the odds are always changing. Any Tilray investor needs to be okay with risk and have lots of patience.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially in a market like this. The article even says to watch Tilray for now, but maybe look at other less risky growth stocks.
Right, the cannabis industry is still young. There are going to be ups and downs along the way.
So temper those expectations. It's a long game. But let's talk about their diversification for a minute. Their success with drinks is pretty amazing. Could this save them, or is it distracting them from their main business?
Shows they can adapt and try new things, for sure, which is good. But selling drinks is a whole different ballgame. Just because you win in one area doesn't mean you'll win in another.
Like thinking a swimmer can automatically run a marathon, right? So how can our listeners figure out if this diversification is really working? What should they be paying attention to?
Forget the hype and look at the basics. Are they making money in these new markets? Are people becoming loyal to their brands? Are they connecting all their different businesses? Those are the questions that will show if this is really working long term.
It's not just about spreading out, it's about spreading out strategically. Every move needs to count. Is Tilray setting a trend for other cannabis companies? Could we see everyone start diversifying to protect themselves?
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. Tilray might be leading the way. Maybe this is a new chapter for the cannabis industry, where the lines blur and companies become more hybrid.
It's evolving right in front of us. But with all this talk about new things, are we forgetting their main cannabis business? What's happening with that?
Well, even with the challenges, Tilray is still a big player in the cannabis world. They're making more product, investing in research, building brands. They're not giving up on their roots, but they know they need to adapt.
So it's a balancing act, staying true to themselves while also trying new things. Very tricky. So if someone's thinking about investing in Tilray, what should they consider besides just U.S. legalization?
You got to look at the management team, their past performance, their long-term vision. Are they making good decisions? Are they using their resources well? Do they have a plan to overcome future challenges? That's how you know if Tilray can really succeed.
So don't just bet on the industry, bet on the company and its leaders. Investors need to ask themselves, do I trust this team to handle anything?
Exactly. Investing in any company, especially one in a new industry like cannabis, requires doing your research and thinking long-term.
Cut through the noise and make smart decisions based on good information. But Tilray also makes us wonder, is the cannabis industry too focused on the U.S.? Could that actually be stopping its growth and innovation?
That's a great question. It's true the U.S. market has huge potential, but always focusing on legalization might be blinding companies. They might miss other opportunities for growth and expansion, like waiting for Prince to come along instead of building your own kingdom.
I love that. Companies need to take charge and create their own future. Don't wait for things to happen to you.
Exactly. The cannabis industry needs to think bigger and start building a stronger, more diverse future.
So build a foundation that can survive anything, whether legalization happens tomorrow or in 10 years.
Exactly. And Tilray, with all their diversification, might be leading the way.
Like pioneers, going into the unknown and showing others the path. But every pioneer faces risks and uncertainties. So as we wrap up this Tilray deep dive, what final thought do you want to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important thing to remember is Tilray's story isn't finished yet. They're changing, facing challenges and opportunities. Whether they make it or not depends on a few things. Can they execute their plan? Can they adapt to the market? Can they build a business that lasts?
It reminds us that investing in any new industry requires patience, research, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Absolutely. Don't just believe the hype. Do your homework, understand the risks, and make informed decisions.
Well said. So we've talked about Tilray's ups and downs and their big move into other markets. But as we wrap up, one last question for you to think about. If the U.S. doesn't legalize marijuana anytime soon, what happens to Tilray? Can they really make it as a beverage company? Or will they always be tied to cannabis?
That's the million-dollar question, yeah. Like predicting the weather a year out. So many things could happen.
Definitely a tough one. So Tilray is trying to build something stable by diversifying, but can they really escape the cannabis world? What should our listeners consider when thinking about Tilray's future?
It comes down to this. Can Tilray build a business that works? No matter what happens with legalization, are they making brand people love? Products that sell like crazy? A business that makes money consistently?
So it's not just about dropping the cannabis label. It's about building a strong, successful business, period. Sounds like Tilray's on the right track.
But who knows what will happen?
Exactly. That's what makes it so interesting. We get to see how it all plays out and learn along the way.
Like we're all playing CEO from our armchairs, right? Analyzing every move and making our own guesses. But at the end of the day, it's up to each investor to decide what they think, do their research, and make their own decisions. Tilray's story reminds us that investing can be unpredictable, especially in new industries.
Absolutely. Things change constantly. You need to be able to adapt, think critically, and have a long-term view.
Very well said. We've explored Tilray's journey today, their challenges, their big decisions, and their uncertain future. Hopefully this deep dive gave you some insights and things to think about as you navigate the exciting world of cannabis stocks. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning.